Hi guys, so in my last video, Charlie Kirk answered some questions or responded to a student who gave her own life, experience on abortion, on why she had to abort her child, her message to young people who would also love to attempt abortion, why they shouldn't, and their reasons behind that. And that was cleared, and it was a very interesting conversation. I know you guys enjoyed it. So today's video is also coming from Charlie Kirk. It's titled Charlie Kirk Nukes Abortion Argument. Take responsibility for your orgasms. I feel like abortion is just a way of young people running away from responsibilities. I mean, you're a young person, you're an adult. I mean, for you to be having sex, you're an adult, right? And you know that when you have unprotected sex, of course, something is going to happen. Why don't you take responsibility for what you did? Why don't you take responsibility for what you did? I think some of our videos, we've talked about why don't young people adopt the measures of not even getting pregnant at all, than getting pregnant and then having an abortion. But today we're going to be having the conversation between a college student and Charlie Kirk, and I cannot wait to get into it. Before we dive into it, my name is Oge. Welcome to the channel. If it's your first time here, hi. Do well to like, share, subscribe, turn on the notification bell. Let's quickly check this out together.
So this is really a question about abortion.
Yeah.
Okay. So I would say I'm more right on the spectrum, but I've never been able to get over the abortion thing. If it's a goal of the right to lower crime levels, why won't they get behind federally legalizing abortion in all states, not making it a states' rights issue because
I know this.
The empirical evidence showing that it reduces crime.
First of all, that's a eugenics argument. So it's like saying we should kill all the prisoners. Okay, so I don't believe that.
Crime rates.
Right? So you shouldn't just kill people just because it lowers crime. That's very inhumane. And number two, I also just so I understand, you're technically correct in this, and I also think it's really creepy that people use it, not you.
Okay.
It's from Freakonomics, is where this comes from,
that's right.
where they wrote an entire chapter about how abortion lowers the crime rate. So you extrapolate that, you just kill enough people in black and brown neighborhoods, the crime rate goes down. That's effectively the argument they make.
Well, isn't it also like, I know a lot of people probably argue with you about abortion with the quality of life thing, and then you'll probably say you can give birth to the baby and maybe put it up for adoption or try.
Course,
but like,
there's twice as many people on the
quality
adoption
of
list,
life of these people, right? It's not great, so they become.
It's a full spectrum thing, and we're conflating two different issues. We have a very simple human rights issue, where you have human beings that are alive that are being killed. That's abortion, and then you have other issues in front of that. So I just ask you on the abortion issue: when does life begin?
Right. I think we'd probably disagree. I do think.
When would you say life begins, though?
I don't know the exact month, but once they develop a heartbeat or a brain,
so like 6 weeks, right?
Sure.
Yeah, so that's like extreme right-wing, like pro-life.
Okay,
no, it's fine. I'm not putting you on the spot, and I know you're supportive. I think it's important that, like, if we're not willing to fight for those in the womb that we can't see, that we can't observe, then we're just hypocrites, right? And then we're just like, what good are we talking about human rights issues? And so, yes, as far as lowering crime, we talked about this ad nauseum today. The number one way to lower crime is to put dads back in homes.
Yeah.
Number two is more police.
I love how Charlie Kirk actually puts some statements. If you put it, you feel guilty, right? I don't think I've ever been in support of abortion. Like, I've never been a supporter of abortion. He made a statement now. He said it's like fighting for human rights for people who cannot fight. Don't you feel guilty if you support abortion? Don't you feel guilty about that? I mean, the fact that they are trying to support, fight for the rights of the people who cannot fight. That's unborn children. So what pro-life are people who are actually fighting for the rights of people. I mean, you're going to feel guilty. But anyway, let's continue. I just wanted to state that out there. I love how he makes certain statements, and this one stood out for me.
More police on streets. Number three is put actual bad criminals away for a long period of time. Number four is we need to fix our educational system, which is a complete disaster. So, but if you told me this, like, hey, Charlie, we can go into Black America, and if we just kill a couple million people, the crime rate goes down. I mean, that's sick. That's abortion.
Right. So then this is just the last.
No, I'm just being like, I just want people to think of it that way.
I get it.
Yeah.
I know. I have friends I've talked to about that.
Yeah.
But so like with IVF, like every potential, every time a guy like off, right? Like that's a potential kid.
But it's not a fertilized egg, though.
Right. It's not a fertilized egg, but prior to 6 weeks, when that baby doesn't have
It's
a
a human
heartbeat.
being once the egg is fertilized, once an embryo is fertilized.
But they say potential life though, because things could happen to that baby in the womb, like God forbid. But it's
you're a
still
potential
not,
life, though. I'm a potential life.
I'm a real life because I'm alive. I
Well,
was a
hold on.
potential life. Right?
When did you
born.
stop becoming a potential life?
When I was, so let's say for the sake of the argument, when I got a heartbeat, right?
Okay, so 6 weeks, got it.
Sure.
But why
Prior to
that
6
definition?
week-
But like, why do you think then? You have to have some standard by which you say then,
Right.
not brain waves, not
Right.
breathing.
Okay, so I would say heartbeat because more likely that baby's going to be born. I would say if it has a heartbeat.
No,
like if
at
there's a
6 weeks, the baby
complication-
cannot survive outside the womb. At 21 weeks.
No, yeah, absolutely. It just has a better chance.
Okay, so you're talking about like
once it has a
viability. So
heartbeat.
after,
Sure.
like you're talking about
Yeah.
miscarriages, potential viability after 6 weeks. Got it. So the process of development, though, starts at conception.
Right.
Right. So if we must be philosophically and morally consistent, we must say that's when life begins, not some other arbitrary other
At
thing that
6
occurs.
weeks.
For example, my son is 4 months old. He's completely dependent on me, completely dependent on his mother. Can't hunt, right? Can't do his own food. Right. Also, is still like his head is still coming together. I don't know if you know that with newborns. Right. There's the development process is not over. It's just beginning with him. So we say that birth is when you enter the world. Your being actually started 9 months prior to that. Right. Then you add these characteristics along the process of development. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
And so it's
Yeah.
not an easy argument. People think it's okay to dispose of life you can't see that's small, but doesn't that make us like really cruel and evil?
No, yeah, I understand. And then
So now the argument is, when is a potential life? When does a life actually begin? So he made an argument about IVF, that once a man off, the sperm is a potential life. I mean, it's not a potential life until, I think it's not a potential life until there is an egg for it to get fertilized, and fertilization or is becoming a life. I think it begins at 6 weeks. That's when there is a heartbeat and they can know that, oh, there is something there, there's something living. So there is just that argument and him just clearing that out. Some people, would say, oh, the life doesn't begin yet. Oh, it doesn't, that kind of argument. But yeah, he just wanted to clear that out, and that is clear. And does that actually make one guilty?
And then the extreme cases of rape, or just in cases of when a baby's going to be born in a really, really shit circumstance, young
Doesn't matter.
parents, unfit.
Who cares?
So what would you recommend to those people if
Put it up
someone's
for
raped?
adoption. Put it up for adoption, number one. And there's 2 million people on the adoption waiting list right now. But it is never the right thing to murder if a baby's going to be born into a slum. By what moral paradigm is that ever defensible? If
The
that's
baby's growing up and then it's, I'm not going to say babies don't have feelings when they're in the womb. I'm sure that there's science
But
that they do.
I
But
believe
when
they
it-
have souls, right?
Okay,
So-
well, what if it's 1.5 years old and it's dying because it can't eat and it can't get nutrients because its
that
mother
doesn't
can't
happen in
breastfeed?
this country. It doesn't. We have an obesity problem, not a starvation problem. We have food stamps. We have food shelters. In this country, that's not an issue. Now, maybe in sub-Saharan Africa, that's a better argument.
Well, in some countries, it happens. Let's not even sound insensitive like these things do not happen, like they are real. There are people who decide to keep their children, and some children die of starvation. Some children die of the fact that their mother cannot provide for them. Some women cannot even eat enough food to produce milk for their children to survive on. It happens. The fact that in America they have food shelter, people die of, people, they suffer from obesity, like there's so much food to go around, doesn't mean that in some cases, that it doesn't happen at all. It happens. Okay, I don't want to sound insensitive, like in case of where someone forcefully have their way with another person, and then a pregnancy occurs, or in incest or some other situations, very bad situation, because there are situations like that, but do you guys think that abortion is the only way a woman can get healed? Just like in that last video of Charlie Kirk, the girl was saying abortion or taking out that child is not the way for you to heal. You have to actually find your healing. And now, there are situations whereby you can put up your child for adoption. There are so many people on the waiting list. So many people want children. So many people that can't have their own kids and want to cater to other people's kids. Do you guys think that abortion is the only, or in extreme cases, in extreme cases, would you recommend abortion? Like, ever? In what case would you even recommend abortion? In what extreme case you think that, okay, at this point, I think the only way, let's not talk about the medical issues that a woman can have, where she can have to miscarry, or where they have to induce an abortion. Not that situation. In what extreme case do you think that, okay, I think the woman has to get an abortion? Killing or removing that child is the only way. Do you guys think what? So I would love your responses on this, because I know a lot of people who will be going through such situations, and everybody say, oh, don't get an abortion, or abortion is wrong, it's the wrongest thing. Of course, that's what I believe in, but they are also facing situations whereby people are telling them, it's your body, it's your right, nobody should tell you what to do with your body. They are so confused, because they are in a situation whereby their mental state is messed up. Okay, what do you recommend as a person, as a mom, as a dad, as an adult, as a grandfather, as a grandmother? What would you recommend? This is a valid question, because so many people are going through such. If it doesn't happen in America, it happens in so many countries. Yeah.
For sure.
But so you would just prefer like adoption though and stuff?
Well, adoption, or it's like take responsibility for your orgasms. Like don't get.
But a baby shouldn't be like a punishment though, right? Like
exactly, a baby's not a disease or a tumor, so stop trying to remove it like it's a tumor. A
Right.
baby's not a punishment. A baby's a blessing.
Right.
What an amazing blessing to be able to bring life into the world. You see yourself in that baby, and as someone who's had 2 kids, it changes you. And for those of you that don't have kids, that are like, shaking your heads, you have no idea what you're talking about. How all of a sudden you have new conviction, new energy, new spirit, new meaning, new depth, new understanding, where you have this baby that you're responsible for, and you're like, that's going to outlive me. I'm going to raise that child. And you're like, oh yeah, I think it's okay to abort it because it's really small and I can't see it. Like, basically you're saying like the Holocaust would have been fine as long as everyone would have been shorter than you.
Okay.
Right?
I don't really understand that, but
but think about it. If it's a small baby and it's not as developed, by what moral standard is abortion okay? We don't murder based on size. We don't murder based on location. It's not okay to kill people in Milwaukee but keep people alive in Madison. Environment doesn't mean anything. Doesn't matter if like where your current environment is, your moral worth, or your degree of dependency, right? We don't go to old people's homes and start just popping off rounds on people that are have Alzheimer's or dementia. It's like by no other moral standard do we apply to our existence, do we apply to abortion, because abortion deals with something that makes people so uncomfortable, which is that it deals with sex and pleasure and regret. And we think it's okay then to just kind of sweep a mistake under the rug, something you regret, I'll never think about it before, but there's a victim in that circumstance.
Right, but something you'll regret, something that you would consider a mistake, is a baby. And so obviously you're saying you'd want to have that baby born, but like a person shouldn't regret and mistake and then look at this baby and think about that.
Yeah, that's where you have to take responsibility for your actions. And again, you can put it up for adoption, you can give it up to family members, but under no moral standard should we as human beings ever espouse should you be able to have evil just to make yourself feel better, just to make your life easier. By no moral standard is that okay. And if you think that moral standard is there, then we can have that discussion, right? Yeah. But we all know it's not true. You guys are all decent, good people, obviously.
Okay, and then final thing, just what was the ultimate ruling that passed Roe v. Wade?
Yeah, so that's a great question. So Roe versus Wade was never a piece of legislation. So it was never voted on by Congress. It was never signed by a president. It was done by the Warren Court or the Burger Court. I think it was the Warren Court. I forget. It's one of the two. And it was a decision that said, basically, it was Jane Roe, and then there was also Jane Doe's 2 decisions, Roe and Doe, that happened one next to each other, that basically said that you have a national right to abortion except in the final trimester, late term. Now, other states instituted that, so you have a national right to be able to do it, so you saw the abortion industry. Now, what Dobbs did, which was the decision that set this whole thing off, Donald Trump put Amy Coney Barrett, Kavanaugh, and Gorsuch on the Supreme Court. They looked at the interpretation. They said, wait a second, this is a states' rights issue. States can determine it. This is not a national issue. Congress never voted on it. Therefore, there's no national implications. Supreme Court doesn't just get to make a law that implicates all citizens, so they brought it back to the states. That's all that Dobbs did. Agree or disagree? That's just
I didn't even know.
Yeah, for sure.
But why is it like what's the benefit of making it a state's issue?
Well, first of all, it's the correct constitutional interpretation. Second of all, from those of us that look at this as a human rights issue, it allows states like Oklahoma and Texas to get rid of abortion so more babies can live.
Okay.
So, but in states like California, Minnesota, and probably Wisconsin, almost no restrictions whatsoever.
No.
Thank you.
Okay, yeah, thank you.
Thanks, man.
Nice conversation there. I would just ask a simple question. Why do people not take responsibility for their actions? Why? Is it that you don't know that when two adults have unprotected sex, something will happen? Now, in the situation whereby something happens, do you think abortion is the right thing to do? Do you think abortion is the only way you can move forward? I know he also mentioned something about a child is a blessing. A child is a blessing. It's a good thing to have a child and all of that. In some cases, it might not look like it at first. Some people regret ever carrying some children, but when they see that child grow, they feel the depth of happiness or joy in which they feel. They cannot express it. That's the kind of joy kids or children, babies can actually bring. But during that turbulent period where you have to carry that child for 9 months and all of the, experiencing some sort of, could be shame, pain, disgrace, embarrassment, and all of those things, that child inhibiting your growth and your achievements and career and all of those things, it might not look like it at that point. But also ask the question before, at what extreme case do you think that abortion is the right thing to do? I don't think at any point it's the right thing to do. I know that some people must have gone through the worst situation, but I don't think taking out that child is the only way you can heal, or is the way you can heal. Taking out that child is not even the way, it's not even the way you can heal. So there is an opportunity for putting up the child for adoption, giving up that child to family members so you can pursue your career or do whatever you want to do and all of that. And most importantly, I feel like it's important that people need to start taking responsibility for their orgasms, like Charlie Kirk said. But I'd love to know your thoughts and comments pertaining this conversation. So many questions have been asked, so many statements have been made. So please pen down your contributions, additions, what you think in the comment section so everybody can learn, we can build on that and grow. Thank you so much for watching to this part of the video. Hope you liked this video. Kindly share, subscribe, drop your comment, turn on notification bell, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye bye.